Welcome to the Buffalo Niagara Waterkeepers Volunteer Ambassador Program introduction video. This is just an introduction to the program, and further training is still required to officially become a volunteer ambassador.
Presenting this introductory video is Wendy Patterson and myself, Elizabeth Cute. We are both community engagement managers at Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper and coordinate the Volunteer Ambassador Program.
This introductory video will cover the Volunteer Ambassador Program background, an overview of Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper, goals and expectations of the program and volunteer ambassadors, the basics of conducting direct outreach, how to get involved with the Volunteer Ambassador Program, and benefits of being a Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper Volunteer Ambassador.
The background behind the Volunteer Ambassador Program is twofold. Our organization had outstanding volunteers, and we also had a need to conduct more direct outreach. A volunteer ambassador is a highly trained Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper volunteer who educates the community about Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper and pollution prevention. They are also trained to lead volunteer events and represent Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper on behalf of the organization. Inspiration. We had a core group of volunteers who were already highly involved and were history experts of Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper. These volunteers had also expressed a desire to provide a greater benefit to the organization. We also noticed at community events that people did not know our organization existed and also knew very little about sources of water pollution.
The need. It was clear that we needed to have a greater community presence. Unfortunately, with limited community engagement staff, we could only attend so many events each year. Therefore, we needed more people who could represent the organization at community events. It was also clear that our community might be better invested in our mission if they understood what sources of water pollution existed and how to prevent water pollution. The mission of the Volunteer Ambassador Program is to provide formal training for volunteers to educate the Western New York community and inspire volunteers to learn more about water protection.
Pilot successes. In 2017, we recruited and trained 14 volunteer ambassadors. This original cohort had over 2,500 conversations about Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper, pollution prevention, and water protection. They have encouraged us to continue this program. Current problems. Our waterways continue to be impaired and require ongoing advocacy and protection. Our community has to face ongoing pollution and its sources together. Water pollution is a multifaceted problem that will need a variety of solutions. Future. The long-term goal of the Volunteer Ambassador Program is for it to be a self-perpetuating program where volunteer ambassadors train, recruit, educate, and foster new volunteer ambassadors and watershed stewards.
An overview of Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper. Before you apply to be a volunteer ambassador, it is important to know what Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper is and to be knowledgeable on our larger, diverse organization. Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper. We protect clean water, we restore the health of ecosystems, we connect people to water, and we inspire economic growth and community engagement. Our mission is to protect and restore our water and surrounding ecosystems for current and future generations of Western New Yorkers. So if you want to help us support our mission, join our team as a volunteer ambassador. We are a fun bunch. Our staff really does enjoy their jobs, and volunteer ambassadors have incredible enthusiasm for the work we are doing. Our organization started in 1989 as an all-volunteer organization. Volunteers continue to be a large source of our success and influence. Now we have over 20 staff members who have a variety of expertise. The professionals at Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper are biologists, planners, landscape architects, construction project managers, certified kayak instructors, community engagement coordinators, hydrologists, and attorneys, just to name a few. We have had a few different names over the years. Our first name was the Friends of the Buffalo River, and we started as a grassroots organization to protect the Buffalo River. Over the next decade, the organization grew and our board of directors became more robust. In 2000, we hired our first staff member and looked beyond the Buffalo River to the Niagara River.
In 2005, we became a member of the global organization, the Waterkeeper Alliance. The Waterkeeper Alliance is the largest not-for-profit organization solely focused on water protection. There are over 300 organizations worldwide, from Alaska to Australia and India to Toronto. In 2017, we changed our name to Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper because our scope of work had grown to include all waters of Western New York. Who we are. Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper is a science-based, community-focused organization engaged in partnership building, planning, design, citizen education, and advocacy. Where we work. We focus on the waters of Western New York, but we acknowledge and participate in the larger Great Lakes community. We also work on an international border, and therefore it is important to maintain international relationships to protect our local waterways. What we do. We protect, restore, connect, and inspire.
Each year, we have worked on up to 60 different projects relating to water protection. These projects are diverse, but they all fit into 5 organizational initiatives: Headwaters, Skagjakwada Creek, Education and Engagement, Living Shorelines, and Waterway Revitalization. These initiatives were created in 2018 and will play a key role in the future planning and direction of our organization.
Headwaters. Through our Headwaters initiative, we aim to protect the source of the Niagara River watershed. The goal is to protect undeveloped headwater forests and wetlands. Examples of projects in this initiative include providing technical support for headwater municipalities. Skagjakwada Creek. We envision a holistic, community-driven restoration effort of the entire creek system. We coordinate with stakeholders and partners within the creek watershed to improve ecological health, water quality, and connect communities to this waterway. Projects in this initiative include the Forest Lawn Restoration and the 1660 Niagara Street Brownfield Cleanup and Shoreline Restoration.
Education and engagement. We train and educate citizens in environmental science and stewardship and connect people to water. The goal is to create a new generation of guardians to work to improve water quality and public access. Examples of the Education and Engagement Initiative include tour programs, volunteer programs, and education programs. Living Shorelines. We implement innovative methods and approaches to restore degraded shorelines throughout the watershed. The goal of Living Shorelines is to enhance water quality, habitat integrity, natural functions, and climate resiliency. Examples include Hyde Park Living Shorelines Restoration, Tift Nature Preserve, and North Tonawanda Botanical Gardens.
Waterway Revitalization. We aim to restore impaired waterways through research, technical planning, partnership building, and implementation. The goal is to restore these impaired waterways while improving public access, improving community stewardship, and increasing economic activity. Our shining example is the Buffalo River restoration success story.
The initiatives are guidelines to Waterkeeper's future, but how can the general public get involved? To engage the community in our mission, we have 3 long-standing volunteer programs. Cleanups. Cleanups are our longest running volunteer program and prevent litter from polluting our waterways. The original founders hosted a Buffalo River shoreline sweep. Today, cleanups are our largest volunteer program and consist of the annual spring shoreline sweep and the monthly Waterway cleanups. The spring shoreline sweep is the largest single-day cleanup in western New York. The monthly Waterway cleanups take place at multiple sites on one Saturday each month during the summer and fall. RestoreCorps. RestoreCorps utilizes volunteers' enthusiasm for habitat restoration and has trained citizens to understand the importance of native species. RestoreCorps volunteers collect native seeds, remove invasives, plant trees and shrubs, and most importantly, maintain restoration sites.
Riverwatch. Riverwatch empowers citizens to understand water chemistry by taking part in a water quality monitoring program. There are several teams of volunteers that sample throughout the Niagara River watershed. All our volunteers are encouraged to be our eyes and ears on the water and report any signs of water pollution. Volunteer Ambassadors is our newest program, and all ambassadors participate in the previously listed volunteer programs. Goals and expectations. Volunteer ambassadors are dedicated and respected members of the Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper team. The goals and expectations to be a volunteer ambassador ensure that they are knowledgeable representatives of the organization.
The goal of the Volunteer Ambassador Program is to educate the public about our mission and water pollution prevention practices. Tasks. In order to maintain your ambassador status, volunteer ambassadors must complete the following tasks each year. Ambassadors, new and returning, must attend all volunteer program trainings. That includes cleanup site captain training, Riverwatch volunteer training, and volunteer ambassador orientation. The ambassadors will be provided with additional required readings about RestoreCorps programs. New ambassadors must also shadow a staff member at a community event to learn how to conduct direct outreach. Ambassadors are expected to attend all trainings and read RestoreCorps materials so that they can talk about all BNW programs to the general public confidently. Once trained, ambassadors have the option of helping lead a cleanup, a RestoreCorps event, or sample for Riverwatch. Ambassadors are not required to participate in all volunteer programs, but it is highly recommended. Ambassadors are expected to record all of their volunteer activity on the Ambassador Task Tracking Sheet. These sheets are to be reported twice a year, once in July and once in January. Ambassadors are required to donate 10 hours of their time in addition to the trainings annually. Volunteer ambassadors are vital to our efforts to reach new audiences and incredibly valued by our organization. Volunteer ambassadors report data from all volunteer events and outreach events, which helps BNW gauge the impact of the program. In addition, learning opportunities are provided to ambassadors, and BNW encourages all ambassadors to be open to learning new skills.
Representatives. By completing all of these tasks, you will be knowledgeable about all our volunteer programs and general water quality issues in the region. You'll be able to discuss them efficiently with community members. There are a few other expectations to ensure that volunteer ambassadors are able to represent the organization. Volunteer ambassadors are given a handbook that contains an overview of the organization and all of our current projects. In the handbook, there's also a code of conduct that all of our volunteers are expected to follow. We may also provide you with additional materials for a particular outreach event. You're not expected to know all the answers to the community's questions, but you should be able to help them find an answer. In your handbook, there is a list of all of the staff and their areas of focus. You can help the community members reach out to the appropriate staff member, or we can help you do that as well. Lastly, as a representative of the organization, you are to be aware of the difference between your opinion and Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper position statements. Water protection and water pollution can be controversial topics, and reading our position statements will help arm you with a response that takes you personally out of the controversy and will place the organization as the focus. You can share your own opinions, but you do need to make it clear when it is not coming from the organization. All our position statements are on our website, bnwaterkeeper.org. To summarize, volunteer ambassadors will spend about 1 hour a week, on average, devoted to Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper. This includes all trainings, volunteer events, outreach events, learning opportunities, and communications. However, each week and each volunteer ambassador is different. We understand that some people are more available than others. We currently only require volunteer ambassadors to complete the trainings and 10 hours of volunteer work a year. You are welcome to commit as much or as little as you want.
Communication and reliability are key. You must sign up for events ahead of time. You will be trained in this procedure during the Volunteer Ambassador Orientation. We communicate mainly via email, and you must be checking your email regularly when an event you are signed up to participate in is coming up. Volunteer ambassadors are expected to be on time to events and to return items on schedule. You are also responsible for keeping track of fulfilling task expectations. If you do not meet the program's expectations or violate the code of conduct, you will be asked to leave the program. Volunteer ambassadors are respected and highly trained, knowledgeable, and reliable volunteers. Like we have already mentioned, more information about the Volunteer Ambassador Program, Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper, and the Volunteer Ambassador Code of Conduct can be found in the handbook.
This is a good point to pause the video and take a break. Think about what information has already been presented to you and about the Volunteer Ambassador Program. If you are still excited to be a highly trained Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper Volunteer Ambassador, then continue on with this video. If you would like to gain a bit more experience before you commit, or if you would like to be a volunteer without all the requirements, please check out our other volunteer programs online. We look forward to seeing you at a volunteer event. Welcome back! We are going to continue this introduction to the Volunteer Ambassador Program by going over the basics of conducting direct outreach. Outreach basics. Before any of the new volunteer ambassadors are expected to conduct direct outreach, they must shadow a staff member or an experienced volunteer ambassador. You will learn from experienced volunteer ambassadors who have already honed their skills in outreach. The handbook, besides having information about the organization and staff, also has information about pollution prevention and how to conduct direct outreach, and provides a protocol for attending outreach events. We'll make sure you have everything you need to get started. Here is a brief overview of our outreach event or tabling protocol. Before an event, you will receive a reminder email. Once you receive that email, respond to confirm you understand what is going on and to arrange for material pickup. We provide all materials needed, but you are expected to pick these materials from our office in downtown Buffalo. Look at where the event is ahead of time to make sure you leave for the event and get there a bit early. During the event, volunteer ambassadors must sign in on the outreach event reporting form so we know who is present. Make sure all volunteer ambassadors present sign in. Also, on this sheet, fill out the date and the event name. You may also be expected to count the handout materials before you start distributing them. You will be provided a community contact sign-up sheet to collect contact information for our e-newsletter. Make sure the sheet has the date and event name on it as well.
Set up your table to display the materials. Ask yourself if you know what all the materials are about. If there are any materials you do not recognize, review them. You will have a clicker to track the number of volunteers or citizens you engage with. During this event, actively engage attendees. To get a conversation started, you can ask them if they have heard of Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper before, or what they think about our logo, or just by introducing yourself. We appreciate when volunteer ambassadors take pictures of the table or have someone take pictures of them. You can take pictures of other people too, but you have to get their permission first and contact information. Don't forget to enjoy the event. Explore the other vendor tables, pick up some freebies, and maybe there will be food and music.
After the event is over, you will pack up the materials, record the number of people you talk to, and confirm that the outreach event reporting form is completely filled out. Please leave us some notes about the event. The last step is to return the materials to our office. You will pre-arrange a time to do this. Doing direct outreach is pretty basic, but here are a few important do's and don'ts to keep in mind. Be friendly and patient. Community members will more likely talk to a happy, approachable person, and there may be some community members that just want to chat with you a little longer than you may like. A friendly attitude and a patient demeanor will help you have a more enjoyable outreach experience. Don't increase aggression with aggression. If someone is mad and you respond with anger, you'll most likely escalate their anger. It is best to respond with kindness even if you do not agree with the individual. Try a statement like, "I'm sorry you feel that way. Is there some way that I can help?" Do take the time to chat with other vendors that may be of interest to you or a valuable connection for the organization. Take advantage of the time to network and learn more about your community. Don't show up untidy. It is important to present yourself as put together. There is no need to look super fancy, but someone who looks put together is more approachable.
Frequently asked questions. When you are at a community event, you will likely get a lot of the same questions. You should prepare your elevator speech for the most common question, which is, what is Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper? Mine is, we are a local environmental nonprofit who works to protect water and restore ecosystems. We love to get the local community involved in all our efforts. At that point, the conversation may end or continue to how they can get involved. We are frequently asked about where we do our work. I like to stress that we work throughout Western New York. There is bound to be a current water pollution event on people's mind, and they are likely to ask your opinion. Remember our position statements and to clearly identify when you are giving your opinion versus the organization's position. A question I often get is if we are the people that rent the kayaks at Canal Side or at Riverworks. Please clarify that no, we are not. Those are for-profit organizations. We are a nonprofit organization focused on water protection. While we do not rent kayaks, we do offer kayak tours, which includes the use of our kayaks. Our tours focus on connecting people to water and teaching basic kayak safety and skills. Our tours are led by American Canoe Association certified kayak instructors.
For upcoming events, including tours and volunteer events, People often ask how to sign up. All our volunteer and recreational events require prior registration. This can be done on our website. Our quality and safety standards require that we have a guest list with additional information before most events. Also, our events are intended to be small in order to maximize the enjoyment of our guests and to foster a connection with our staff and volunteers. Besides those basic questions about our organization, we are often asked about the quality of the water locally, problems our waterways face, and how to address those problems. The following sources of ongoing water pollution are the main threats. CSOs, or combined sewer overflows. Combined sewer systems have permitted overflow discharges that add a mix of stormwater and raw sewage into our waterways on rainy days. A combined sewer overflow event happens when the volume of stormwater and sewage is greater than the sewage treatment plant infrastructure can handle. Stormwater runoff and land use. As developed land increases, permeable surfaces decrease, and more stormwater runs off the land directly into our waterways untreated. In rural areas, there's often no infrastructure set up to treat stormwater. In urban areas, there is often hard, impermeable surfaces leading right up to the water's edge. As stormwater runs over the land, it picks up a variety of pollutants and carries them into the water. These pollutants could include oil, pesticides, or trash. Microplastics. Plastic is one of the most prevalent types of litter found in our local waterways. Large pieces of plastic, for example, a plastic bag, will eventually break down into smaller and smaller pieces. When these pieces become smaller than 5 millimeters in length, they're classified as microplastics. These tiny plastics are so small that they pass right through water filtration systems and pose serious threats to aquatic life. New studies have found microplastics in sea salt and even bottled water.
Harmful algal blooms. Algae that grows excessively, greater than normal population growth, could potentially become a harmful algal bloom. A harmful algal bloom causes harm to human health, wildlife health, and/or damages local economies. Populations of algae may bloom because of the following conditions: warm water, high nutrient levels, low water flow, and longer periods of sunlight. Global climate change. Our Great Lakes and other western New York waters are susceptible to a variety of negative impacts associated with rapidly changing global climate. Our region is already seeing the effects of climate change. Trending warmer weather, less ice cover, more erratic weather events, invasive species, increased populations of ticks and other pests, and more frequent and bigger storm events. Solutions. One way to address many of these sources is to capture stormwater and prevent it from going into our waterways. A simple way to do this is to disconnect your downspout from your sewer system and diverting it to a green space. You could also install green or living infrastructure to combat stormwater pollution. This would include rain barrels, rain gardens, and living shorelines. Rain barrels can be used to water gardens on dry days, allowing the stormwater to filter naturally through vegetation and soil. Rain gardens are planted depressions that allow rainwater to be absorbed into the ground. Living shorelines, instead of hardened and degraded shorelines, include native vegetation that helps capture and filter stormwater.
To prevent the input of man-made products such as plastic, we can collect litter and prevent it from reaching our waterways. If litter is not picked up, wind and rain can wash it into our sewer drains or directly into our waterways. Some specific types of microplastics, like microbeads from self-care products, have been identified and tracked back to its source and even banned in several locations. However, there are a multitude of sources for microplastics beyond face wash and toothpaste. Continued research, awareness, and education will be important tools to find future solutions. How to get involved. Here are the specifics on how you can become a volunteer ambassador. First, if you have not already, participate in our other volunteer programs. Meet some current volunteer ambassadors at events and ask them about the program. Apply by filling out the form on the Volunteer Ambassador webpage. We will review all applications and then determine if you are a right fit for the program. If you are accepted into the program, there will be an orientation to go over additional details and answer questions.
As a volunteer ambassador, you will use a Google Sheet to sign up for volunteer and community events. We let you choose which ones you attend. If you do not know how to use a Google Sheet, we'll teach you. Lastly, what benefits do you gain from being a volunteer ambassador? First to know, you are the first to know about Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper events and community events. Western New York is a vibrant community with a multitude of exciting workshops, festivals, and fairs. When you volunteer at those events, you will get VIP access and sometimes gifts. Our volunteer ambassadors have had fun discovering events they never knew existed.
Continuing education. Water Academy is a field-based college credit environmental science class that Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper leads. It is also open to the public. Classes are instructed by our staff and other local experts in Western New York. As a volunteer ambassador, you can take Water Academy at 50% of the cost. We may even ask you to help design or implement a class, which means you could attend for free. Volunteer ambassadors have also assisted in running our public forums and other presentations. Water Academy classes are different every year, and we are constantly evolving our presentations. So as a volunteer ambassador, there are many continuing education opportunities.
Parties. Also, we love to show our gratitude. We throw some pretty awesome parties. Our volunteers are incredibly valuable to us. We started as an all-volunteer grassroots organization, and we know that volunteers remain our foundation that keeps the organization going. Interested volunteer ambassadors have even been trained to present about our organization and programs on our behalf. We are constantly receiving requests for presentations, and we'd like to fulfill all of the requests and provide water protection education to a much larger audience. In the future, we would love to increase the number of ambassadors presenting and leading school programs. We would also like to grow the ambassador skills in assisting with fundraising efforts. Liz and I are also open to feedback and willing to help with any skills development goals an ambassador may have.
Thank you for taking the time to review the Buffalo Niagara Waterkeepers Volunteer Ambassador Program Introduction video. Did we make this program sound amazing? Don't just take our word. Make sure to watch our Volunteer Ambassador testimonial video about their involvement with Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper. Feel free to contact Wendy or myself with any questions. Also, check out the website for more information. We hope you apply.